Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a document from Plumas Bancorp, and let me tell you, this filing is like a wedding announcement, but instead of two people, it's two banks deciding to become one. Get ready for some financial vows. And before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below for you to join and talk about the numbers, often short Plumas Bancorp. Just finalized a deal to buy Cornerstone Community Bancorp. Think of it as a banking power-up, combining resources to become a bigger player. Alright, let's get into it. The main event happened on July 1, 2025, which they're calling the closing date. That's when Plumas Bancorp officially completed its purchase, also called acquisition, of Cornerstone Community Bancorp. They had been planning this since January of 2025. This whole thing is based on something called a merger agreement. A merger agreement is just a contract outlining the terms of the deal. So what actually happened? Cornerstone Community Bancorp essentially disappeared into Plumas Bancorp. It's like one company ate the other, legally speaking, with Plumas Bancorp continuing as the surviving company. Right after that, Cornerstone's bank, Cornerstone Community Bank, also merged into Plumas Bank, which is Plumas Bancorp's bank. Now you have one bigger bank. If you own stock in Cornerstone, here is what you would have gotten. For every share you had, you received 0.6608 shares of Plumas Bancorp stock, apply 9.75 cents in cash. Also, if you had only a fraction of a share left over after the conversion, they paid you out in cash. Overall, Plumas Bancorp handed out a little over 1 million shares of its own stock and about $14.8 million in cash to Cornerstone shareholders. In addition, they paid about $1.3 million to people who had options, which are basically the right to buy stock in the future, to buy Cornerstone stock, which now translates to about 30,000 in options to buy Cornerstone stock, which now translates to about 30,803 shares of Plumas Bancorp stock. Years optionated, meaning they were cancelled as part of the deal. Plumas Bancorp also took over some existing options to buy Cornerstone stock, which now translates to about 30,803 shares of Plumas Bancorp stock. The company registered the shares of Plumas common stock under the Securities Act. A registration statement is basically a detailed document a company files with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, when it plans to issue new securities like stocks or bonds to the public. This gives potential investors a lot of information about the company so they can make informed decisions. It helps to prevent fraud and make sure everyone plays fair in the stock market. If you want every single detail, you can check out the actual merger agreement, which is included as an exhibit, meaning an attachment to this report. Moving on, because of this merger, Plumas Bancorp also took on Cornerstone's debts. Specifically, they are assuming responsibility for $12 million in what are called subordinated notes, are a type of debt that gets paid back after other debts if the company goes bankrupt. It's like being last in line to get paid. $2 million of the debt is in notes due in November 2035. These notes have a fixed interest rate of 4.75% for the first 10 years. After that, the interest rate will change every 3 months based on something called the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, or SOFR, plus an extra 4.14%. Think of SOFR as a benchmark interest rate used in the financial world. The other $10 million is in notes due in November 2030. These also start with a fixed interest rate of 4.75% for the first 5 years. Then the rate changes every 3 months based on SOFR plus 4.52%. Now let's talk about people. As part of the merger, Ken Robeson, who used to be a director at Cornerstone, is now a director at Plumas Bancorp. He'll get the same pay as the other non-employee directors, which you can find more about in their official proxy statement from April of 2025. A proxy statement is a document that a company sends to its shareholders before a shareholder meeting. It includes important information about the matters to be voted on at the meeting, such as the election of directors, executive compensation, and other company proposals. Like the other directors, Mr. Robeson is covered by an indemnification agreement. An indemnification agreement is a contract where a company agrees to protect its directors and officers from personal liability for actions they take in their roles at the company. This agreement means the company will cover their legal expenses and any damages they might have to pay. Finally, Plumas Bancorp put out a press release on July 20, 2025, announcing that the deal was done. If you're really digging into the details, you can find the actual agreements about protecting directors, and the press release as exhibits attached to this report. Now let's step back and look at the big picture. Plumas Bancorp's acquisition of Cornerstone Community Bancorp is a pretty clear move to grow bigger and stronger in their market. By combining, they get more resources, more customers, and hopefully more opportunities. One potential risk is always the challenge of bringing two different companies together. Different cultures and systems can sometimes clash, and it takes work to make sure everything runs smoothly. The company seems to have good financial planning, with details of the financial arrangement available in the filing. All in all, this merger looks like a strategic move for Plumas Bancorp. By expanding their footprint and bringing in new talent, they're positioning themselves for future growth in a competitive industry. Alright, that's our breakdown of Plumas Bancorp's latest filing. What's your take on this acquisition and what it means for the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.